morning, everybody. It is Kelly from LOCH BRIAR Knits coming to you from a cloudy, foggy Nova Scotia, Canada. It is episode 79 and it is, I was going to say May. It's not May anymore. It's June 13th, Saturday. I've literally lost all sense of time. I don't even know what month it is. I don't know what day it is. Anyway, welcome to all the new and returning viewers. This is a knitting podcast, in case the name didn't give it away. So glad to see we picked up some new viewers, so hello. And thanks to all the returning viewers for checking us out again. And let's get into it. It has been, I'm not even going to gloss over it. It's been a shit few weeks. So I'm just going to address this and I'm going to say my piece. Just in case anybody isn't sure what I guess my stance is. I fully support the Black and people of color community in saying that this systemic racism and the overt racism in general needs to stop. It needs to stop now. So, you know, if we could just all do our part. And honestly, if it's not something you agree with, this probably isn't the podcast for you, because it is something that I feel so strongly about that it's just, for me, there's no compromise on it. That's what it is. It has to stop. And I am horrified by what has caused the voices to be raised to the level they are right now, what it took to get that to happen. But I am so glad that the voices are raised, and I hope the voices continue to stay raised until it stops, because it's just stupid. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just stupid. And I just, you know, honestly, the words escape me. Here's my feel. I understand coming from a position of white privilege, and honestly, literally, I'm like the poster child of white privilege. I grew up in a town that was had a very strong Black community. I grew up on the white side of town. We had maybe 2 Black families on our side of town. And the strongest, the Black community was very prevalent in the south end of our town. And I was on the west side. It was pretty much the white end of town. But our high schools were integrated. So we had, you know, I had white friends, I had Black friends. And I never considered anybody to be above the other. I never considered any of my friends that were Black to be any less than my friends that were white. But I was not blind to the fact that the Black kids were very often treated differently. And that's just what I saw. There was probably a whole shit ton going on that I didn't see. And even then I knew it was wrong. But at the same time, when you come from a position of white privilege, I think it's then incumbent upon us to raise our voices, because honestly, we're the problem. We are. It's not the people like the Black people or the people of color, the Indigenous people. It's not, they're not the problem. We are. So it's incumbent upon us to fix the problem. So here's my view on the best ways to do that. Number one, if you're overtly doing it, just quit it. Just stop it. Quit being a dick, honestly. But there's so many other little ways that maybe you're not even aware of, that you could become more aware. And for me, if you don't know what to do, educate yourself. And there are so many resources out there that I had no idea about. And just educate yourself on how to be the best ally that you can for the Black community and other people of color. Because it's so important. Like, just imagine, I suddenly just became John Lennon. Imagine. But imagine if it didn't exist. Like, would that not be awesome? Like, would that not be the most awesome thing? So let's make that happen. And it's not going to happen overnight, because there's a lot of minds that have to be changed, or just shouted down if they don't want to change. There's a lot of policies that need to change. There's just a lot of systemic, ingrained habits and stupidities that need to be changed. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's never going to happen if we don't start making it happen. So we need to start making it happen. And the best way, I think, to do that is to educate yourselves on how to do it. So I'm going to drop down in the doobly-doo underneath there a lot of good resources that were brought to my attention that I found really helpful, that I've started reading or are on my to-be-read list once I get through what I'm reading right now. And I've also some documentary series that I have been watching that I found really informative, and kind of gives you a really kind of harsh view, but realistic view of what, of how different the legal system is for a person of color than it is for somebody sitting in my position in, white privilege land. And it's mind-boggling. But I think very helpful and very useful to kind of allow somebody who doesn't live in that reality, with it in your face every day, to really understand. So educate yourself, be an ally, and do your best. Are we going to make mistakes? Not probably. Yeah, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to falter. But the important thing is that when you do that, pick yourself back up. Keep on going. Don't let it deter you. Keep on going. Keep the fight going. I feel there's a revolution afoot. And it's a very good one. And it's a long time coming. So let's be on the right side of history. So with that said, I suddenly feel like Tommy from Dynamite Trio. Transitions are hard. It is a knitting podcast, so we are now going to talk about some knitting. I splurged. I did. So Jenna Rose, handmade, who is a lovely, lovely Canadian bag maker. She does I think it's called screen printing, where she draws the designs and then puts them on the material. I don't know how that's done. I would love to, I'd love to actually just be able to draw that good. But my doodles have nothing on her. So I'm going to show you what I got. And here's the thing. I was wondering where my glasses were. So here's the thing. I get all my crap out here. Okay. This thing, I'm gonna have to move back. That's how big this thing is. I couldn't decide on which bag to get. So can we just look here to give you a sense. here's the bottom. Like really, to give you a sense of how big it is. Bucket head. But okay, so this fills a lot. Now I gotta get back in space. But look at the really pretty design. Like, look at this. Oh my God, look. And then it's got like the leather handles. So I had a bag of yarn that I'm going to show you. I had 2 of these bags shoved in here, the yarn, and then like a few other things. I had a book and my Chagu interchangeable set, and I probably had a few other things in here. So this thing like literally carries a lot. So I'm going to use this to kind of hold my current projects, so I have them all in one spot. And I'm probably going to have to stop casting things on at some point, but until then, but this is beautiful. But here's the thing. I couldn't decide because she has a website, but she also has an Etsy shop. So I got one of these, I think it was this one I got on her Etsy shop. And then I just popped over to her website because she had some new drawings. I'm not sure if this is one of the new ones or not, but I believe this one was from the new drawings. So this one is, let me just, there. So it's got the leather like things here, and then you just like basically draw it closed. And I'll reopen it now. This holds a fair bit. Like I have a hat project and a sock project in here. But again, it's like this lovely, it's not canvas. That might be canvas. I don't know. I'm not good with the materials, but it's sort of a, I don't know, it almost feels like linen, cotton, like more linen. I don't know, but it's beautiful. Like, look at the drawings, it's so pretty. So I couldn't decide. Let's see if I got them both. So yeah, I did. And my Chagu mini set came in. Ta-da! So I had the ones from the red case, which were the smaller ones. These ones, I love how mini, I just love how mini it is. Okay, so there you go. And these ones up here are like this length. And these ones down here are this length. So it gives you some options. So this is going to be ideal for doing like sleeves, especially. A bug just landed on my window from the outside. It's just not a June bug. The dog came into the house after we let her out right before bed last night. First thing I said to my husband as he came through, well, first thing I said when he left the door was, don't get any June bugs on the dog. But it's pitch black out here at night, right? There's no like street lights or anything. It's just like pitch black. Anyway, So he comes inside and I said, there better not be any June bugs in the dog. And he said, here, hold the dog. There was a June bug stuck to her lip and she was trying to eat it. It was so disgusting. It was like, oh, I hate June bugs. I hate them. June bugs and earwigs. Oh. So I don't know if you can even tell because it's all dark. It's inside there, but this is how long it is. And this is kind of how wide it is. So it carries, like, I have my sock and my hat thing in here, and I still have room probably for another project. So you could have, like, this would be perfect for, like, if you were making a big shawl or anything like that. It's surprising how much this holds. So those are my two purchases. We just go right into acquisitions, like, bang, right at the beginning. And then, you know, there was my little... What I was going to say, yeah, I had the red one, which had the really kind of thin cables and the smaller set of needles from, like, I have hiccups, size 0 to 2.75 maybe. But I found the cable so thin and the needles so small that at that small sizing, I just couldn't get my hands around them. So I bought this, and then my Instagram friend Nancy took the red ones off my hands. So they arrived. Actually, they arrived really fast. I think they arrived within like 2 or 3 days. And she's just up in New Brunswick, so that was handy. So technically, that helped offset the cost of those, which was good because they're not cheap. But I also bought, if you remember, I just saw an animal walk by. If you'll remember, I had mentioned last week that I was going to knit at a Cascade 21 these two colors. So this is going to be the main color, and this is going to be the cuff and bottom hem of the JUIST, still don't know if I'm saying that right, sweater by Unca Strict. Now, as I was kind of talking about this color, I was mentioning how I didn't think it would work. And then I was kind of seeing it on screen, and I thought, you know what? I think I can pull that color off. So I went on to my local yarn store and ordered what I thought was that color, because I was just kind of looking at the colors and wasn't paying attention to the number. And so I ordered a sweater's quantity, but then it came in and I realized that looks a little different. So it is a little different. And now that I'm looking at them side by side, it's not like a whole, I guess maybe. This has got a little more of a, I want to say like almost like green undertones. So I'm not sure if we're having a hair day. I think this will still work. But I also really like kind of how this is more of a more earthy gold. And then this one is Mimi from the Loop, where I ordered this. This one's got a bit more, I think she called it a little more zippy. So it is. But I think this one works better with my skin tone. But I'm still thinking I could maybe pull this one off too. So I'm going to get her to order me a sweater's quantity of these the next time she does an order for Cascade. But I'm still going to hand on to this. And this one was Cascade 2020, and it was number 9564, and it was called Golden. And this one is 4010, and it's called Straw. But there's also a really nice other color, because I was kind of, when I realized that this one was different, I went on to, I think I just Googled Cascade 2020 and found like all of their colors. There is another one, and it's called, I think it's called Storm heather maybe. And it's just like this gray blue, and it's beautiful. And I really want to get that one too. But I've got a lot of sweaters quantity of yarn, and I really need to start getting it knit up. But then I was looking at the other colors that they had in Cascade 22 and, or 2020, 220. I know my numbers. And there's probably like a handful of other colors that I was just like, oh my God, that would make a beautiful sweater. So anyway, that was my acquisitions right up front. Let's actually get into some knitting I did. And guess what? Guess what, people? I finished a sleeve. I finished a sleeve on my other Anka Strick pattern. I literally finished the cuff last night. So let me see if I can try this on without making too big of a mess. So there, okay. I feel completely discombobulated. So here we go. The sleeve I made a bit longer because I like my sleeve long. And this is the first time I actually managed to do it properly. So I just have this one left. Picking these stitches up was a real pain in the ass, and I ain't gonna lie. So the only thing is, and I don't know if you can see it here, but this is kind of curling up a bit, which is annoying. So I don't know if when I block it out, that will uncurl. But if anybody has any ideas on a good way to kind of prevent that or fix it, let me know. Like, just put a thing down there because I have no clue. Anyway, so I have one arm left, and I really want to get this finished for the next podcast because honestly, this needs to get off the needles. But I did use the, I don't know if I've got them in here. I think I do. I should. These ones to knit the sleeves with a little bend in them, and I love them because at this point my my interchangeables had not arrived, so but I did have these which were the right size, so I used those and I love them. I love the little like bend. I just found it really easy to maneuver. So that's that. But yeah, if anybody has any tips or tricks on how to keep the bottom from rolling up, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but even if it's something that you do when you start to knit that I can do in the next one, we'll see. Anyway, straighten myself up. I feel like I'm flashing people. So that, and that's made out of Knit Picks Stroll Tweed, and that is the Lost Lake Heather colorway. So that's that. I did finish my sister's Nova Scotia socks, but I gave them to her because we were able to hook up last weekend and she really wanted them. But I did take a picture, so I will insert it kind of like right, not here because I haven't figured out how to do that yet, but I'll stick one in here and then there'll be a space of time. And now we're back. So the other thing I worked on is, so if anybody remembers from last podcast or the podcast before that, I was making the Breathe and Hope shawl by Casapinka. So that has I was just in, I had like maybe this much done. and it was striping, and there was a stitch in there which is knit from below. So when I was first casting on, I had to do it like about 5 times because I kept screwing that up. And then I finally figured out, I think, how to do it properly, and I was going along fine, and it was easy, and I was like, I don't know why I ever had problems with it. And then I set the shawl down for a couple of weeks, and I went to pick it back up again, and for the life of me could not do that stitch. I could not get it right. So I did it about, oh God, I don't know, like 8 times, and I'd get like 5 stitches in and realize that's not right. That's not, like, I'm not doing it right. So I looked at watched a tutorial. I was like, okay. And then I went, still not doing it right. I don't know what I was doing wrong. I don't know. I could not figure it out. But then I finally thought that I did have it figured out, and I'm going along, and I'm probably like about this much in. And then I stop and I look at it and realize that the stitches didn't pick up, because when I was knitting from below, I was, I think, dropping the stitches on the needle. So everything had started to unravel, and I could not figure out how to save it. And finally, I just thought, I'm just gonna have to frog the whole thing. So I did. I frogged it. I was just like, I just kind of felt like it was giving me grief from the start. And so I was just like, I just don't think, I had the mental capacity to deal with that, to knit that right now. I needed something a little more straightforward. So, because I just find between the whole being on lockdown, they're lifting some restrictions, but we're being really careful about what we do. I'm still working from home, probably will be until August. So that's like, I don't know, there's something about that that's so mentally draining. I don't know how people do it for a living, manage it. And there's some people that love it. I don't. I want a complete separation between my home and my work. I don't even, when I'm writing, I don't even write from home. I go to a coffee shop. Home is home. So I just found that really draining. And then on Monday, my grandfather had passed away. He was 98. He had congestive heart failure. We knew it was coming. They kind of told us, I think, about maybe a week or so beforehand that his vitals had kind of really started to take a nosedive. So they said, we're probably getting to the end. He was 98. He lived a great life, full life, long life. But still, he was my last grandparent, and it was just kind of, it was sad. And I was sad for my dad because it was his dad. So there's that. And it was just like, and then the I don't even know the right word to use. With the George Floyd, and then the protests, and just trying to wrap your head around how to be like the best ally. So there's just a lot of mental energy going on, and emotional energy going on last couple of weeks, where if I had to concentrate on anything, that was more than kind of knit purl. It was not going well. So I stuck to kind of simpler projects, and I frogged the Breathe and Hope shawl. So I ended up casting on, and I don't think I have a front page to this one, but this is the Unwind Shawl by Tracy Miller of the Grocery Girls. So this it's not in color because I forgot to hit the color button on that, but it's this beautiful triangular shawl. It's pretty straightforward knit, but regardless, I managed to mess it up. So the colors I'm using are, this is Evie Knits, oops, in her pewter colorway. And look, my cakes are more like beehives. So, this is a homespun house in her House of Stark colorway. That was part of her Game of Thrones club that I was in. So I love the look of these two yarns together. Again, it's the blue and the gray. I love blue and gray. So here's what I did. Here's what I did wrong. So I'm going along, knitting along, minding my own business, and I get to here and realize I'm on the wrong colorway, but I have the right sequence of colorways based on the pattern. But when I get to here, like when I got to the stitch, a number of stitches at the end of this section here, it was basically telling me I should have been here on this section. So I was like, I was trying to wrap my head around how that could have happened. And then I started looking at some other people's projects and realized that their sections sort of here looked thinner than mine. And then I started counting like the number of stitches, like rows I had in here based on the stitches. And I think I had at least 2 more rows than I should have in each of the sections, which every second row you're doing increases. So that each section you should increase, I think, by like 16 stitches. And I was probably increasing by at least 20 stitches. So that's why my stitch count once I got to here was telling me I should have been up here. So I thought, well, how am I going to fix that? So I thought, well, because in order to finish off this section, whole section that I'm knitting, I have to be on a certain colorway at a certain stitch count. So I was trying to figure out how to do that, and I thought, oh, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll just stripe it. So I thought, well, if I stripe it like X number of rows, I can kind of catch up to the right colorway at the right stitch count. I don't know if any of that is making sense, but by the time I hit this block here, I was at the right number of stitches on the needles that I had to have to be starting this section. So I think I've got everything figured out. Now, clearly, you can kind of see, I think, if I hold it back, like these 2 sections here, actually these 3 sections here are wider than this one. And this one. Yeah, so these 2 sections here are the right number of stitch counts, and then these 3 I was adding enough to kind of throw things off a whole section. So I finally got it figured out. I figured I'll do a little striping, which I actually kind of like the look of, and then get myself back where I need to be. So I did that. And this is a really nice knit. I love the yarns. I love the way the color of them is working together. And it's just a really relaxing knit. Even when you screw up, it's still a relaxing knit. And I'm using my Addy Turbo, and I forget the name of these. Turbo Rocket 2 squared. So I really like these. Like, they're very comfortable to knit with. I'm not sure if you can really kind of see because of the light, but you kind of see these little indents, and it just, I don't know what it is, but it just makes it so comfortable. I don't know why, but it does. And I really like how they feel when you're knitting with them. So that's the shawl that I have on my needles. And the Breathe and Hope one, I may go back to, or I may use the yarns just for something else entirely. So that's my tale of woe. So that's my relaxing, one of my relaxing knits. The other one is, where to stick it? There it is. So this is in one of my bags from the Loop, which is my local yarn store. It's little sheeps skating. That's good. I don't know if that's showing up properly. Hopefully you can see that. And this is, last episode I showed you the Trailhead yarns in the Determined Salmon colorway, and I love how this is knitting up. So here's how it's knitting up. Like, it's not self-striping, but it's stripy. I don't know if it's like, I don't think it's supposed to intentionally be self-striping. There's nothing I saw. I don't think there was anything in the on the tag. But I was curious to see what it would feel like knitting, because it's, oh my God, what is it now? I forget, but it's a cotton nylon blend. And I'm trying to remember, I think the nylon was 35% and 65% cotton was the breakdown of it. So I wasn't sure what it would feel like knitting with cotton, if it would feel stiff or anything. It doesn't. It's so strapey. It's so drapey and so super soft. Like, it's just, I love this yarn. I would actually knit a sweater out of this yarn. So, and that would be a good idea for a summer sweater, because it would just be nice and light. But oh my God, I love this yarn. I'm surprised by how much I love this yarn. Like, I knew I would love the colorway. I didn't know if I would love knitting with it this much. Love it. So that's Trailhead Yarns. I'll try to remember to link her shop below. And this is in her Appalachian line. And I'm trying to remember, there was, I think, maybe like 8 different colorways in that, I think. But I'll link her shop below. But I love it. Love it, love it, love it. That's only for a sock. This has kind of been my other mindless knitting. I found I didn't have a lot of knitting time this week. And then when I had knitting time, I was knitting or frogging things, but I found that I was knitting slower and I was getting distracted easier, and I don't know, my brain's just been all over the place. So that's that, but I did have one other new cast on. So this is the Bankhead hat. I showed the pattern last week, and this is by Susie Gourlay. I think I'm saying her name right. So I am, so it's the Bankhead hat. There's her name right there. So I am knitting this with, so this is knit out of worsted weight. And I'm doing it out of decay weight because I am using Art Fill in their Chalet line. And I'm doing it in, this is the Broom colorway, which is this one. It's a nice blue. And then the Haibu, which is one I've got on there right now, which is a gray. So I'm striping it And actually this yarn is a mix of hemp. I had glasses, they're there. Oh, there's my other tag. I feel like I'm all over the place today. My brain still hasn't settled down. So it's 50% hemp, 50% merino, and it's DK weight. So I'm using the recommended needle size for the yarn, not for the pattern. So the recommended needle size for the pattern is 4.5 millimeters, which is US size 7. So what I did was I cast on for the adult large. Normally I would probably go the adult small medium if I were doing it in the right, like, or the worsted weight yarn that the pattern calls for. But where I'm doing a DK weight, I thought and smaller needles, I thought I'll cast on for the large. Hopefully that will work. So this is the brim, and I don't want to try it on my head yet because I don't think I'm far enough up from the brim to not knock things off. But I did the brim a little longer because I like a longer brim. So it's the twisted rib brim, and I'm just striping about every 12 rows. So this is the brim, and then here in this part, it's like a 4x1 kind of ribbing. And I don't think I can't really stretch it out too far. Maybe you can see it from the back. That kind of gives you a sense. So the yarn is beautiful. Like, it's so soft. It's so soft. I want a sweater out of this too, but it's also kind of expensive. Like, these were 50 gram balls, and I think they were, because I remember when I got them, I was like, this is a splurge. I don't think they have the price on here, but they were fairly expensive. Like, I would say, I could be wrong. Let's try to remember to look it up, but I think I paid like around maybe 24 Canadian for it, for like a 50 gram ball. But it's knitting up. Like, I cast this on last night, like after supper, and it's just, I finished knitting the cuff on my sleeve, and then I cast this on. And it's just like, it's mindless. It's like such an easy knit. It's so enjoyable. I actually like doing 1x1, like the twisted rib, much better than just 1x1 straight ribbing. I just find it easier. I don't know why, but I love it. This yarn is just insanely soft, and I'm really sad that it's not hot weather right now. I mean, I'm not sad. I'm not, but I'm kind of sad. So I'm almost tempted. I really love this pattern too. So I'm kind of tempted to maybe get some more from the Trailhead yarn that's like a cotton mix, and make one for kind of the summer, because I find in the early mornings, like, I usually take the dog while I'm working from home right now. I take the dog out for a walk at 6:30, but once I start going back to the office, I'll probably be getting up at 5:30 and take the dog for a walk then. But there's still mornings I get up and it's kind of like damp and chilly. And as you can see right now, my hair likes to get in my face. So I almost need, and right now I've just been like kind of sticking a barrette, not like that, but sticking like a clip or something in it to hold it back. But I I kind of prefer to wear like a hat to hold it back, like just kind of a slouchy beanie to hold it back. So I think if I had something that was cotton, that would be better. So I thought maybe if I get a trailhead yarns and maybe hold it double, because that's like fingering weight. Although she probably has some DK weight or worsted weight as well. So maybe I'll check that. I don't know. Thoughts. more cast-ons. I'm still battling cast-onitis. But that's it. That's what I've got. That's what I got on the needles. And I find the last few days I've kind of got back a little bit of my, I didn't lose my knitting mojo. I lost my brain concentration mojo, but I find a little bit of it is coming back. And I think part of that is, I think I feel a little better because I feel like I'm doing something proactive with the anti-racism. And I think the worst of it was just feeling so helpless. Because you just want to be able to snap your fingers and fix it and have everybody on equal footing, like really fast. And not being able to do that was so frustrating because, you know, until it's done, people suffer and you don't want that. So I think once I started doing something that felt more proactive, that will help, even if it's not like an immediate thing, it's something that in the long run will allow me to be a better ally, and the better ally I am, the more I can help. So I think once I got my brain kind of working towards that, and get a few days out from my grandfather's passing, and I got a couple more days at the office this week. I was there 3 days instead of 2. I think that sort of helped my concentration sort of work its way back. So I got the sweater sleeve finished, and I got the hat started, and I've got, you know, I got some plans of, I really want to cast on that JUIST sweater like nobody's business. I feel like my concentration's coming back. So I feel like this one's a really long one. I'm looking at the timer, like 55 minutes. I think I got some edits to do to get this small enough it'll upload without crashing my system. Anyway, so I'm gonna let you guys go. I will see you in a couple weeks. Thanks so much for showing up. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. The like button helps us get the word out about the podcast, and the subscribe button will let you know when there's new content on the channel. So until then, happy knitting, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. See ya.